What if I told you the stress you feel right before clicking buy or sell isn't just in your head? It's in your bloodstream, your muscles, your very posture. You think you're making rational choices, scanning charts and weighing probabilities. But in reality, a much older system is working behind the scenes, your fight or flight response. And it's hijacking your trades. You step into the trading pit, whether physical or digital, and instantly your body senses uncertainty. Your pupils dilate, your breath shortens, adrenaline floods your system. These are the same responses that helped your ancestors survive a charging predator. But in a world of blinking tickers and economic data releases, they can become your worst enemy. Coates introduces you to traders in high octane environments, pit traders who stood shoulder to shoulder, absorbing information not just through screens, but through sweat, breath, and eye contact. These weren't abstract markets. These were biological battlegrounds. The trading floor mimicked nature's most intense arenas of survival, and your body treated them accordingly. Why does your heart race before an earnings report? Why do your hands sweat before executing a large position? Because your body believes it's under attack. And when that happens, blood drains from your prefrontal cortex, the seat of your rationality, and gets rerouted to your limbs, preparing you to run or fight. This biological reallocation costs you clarity. Coates, a former trader turned neuroscientist, exposes this system with precision. He argues that traders aren't detached minds calculating risk, their bodies reacting to it. And this explains why so many blow up after a big win or spiral after a loss. You're not losing to the market, you're losing to biology. Just like animals sizing each other up in the wild, traders are constantly scanning for dominance and safety cues. One wrong glance, a moment of uncertainty, a voice trembling on the other end of a headset, and your fight or flight alarm flares. Suddenly, a normal pullback looks like a free fall. A ranging market feels like a threat. You're not reading price anymore, you're reading fear. This isn't just theory. Coates brings in hard science. He references studies of soldiers, athletes, and even poker players, contexts where risk is palpable and real. In all cases, the body reacts before the mind, preparing action before reason can intervene. For you, the trader, this means that awareness of your body is just as important as awareness of market structure. What's most alarming is how unnoticed this all goes. You don't think my amygdala is firing and pumping me full of cortisol. You just feel off. You hesitate. You revenge trade. You freeze. And then blame your strategy or the market. But the problem started in your bloodstream, not your trading plan. So how do you fix it? The first step is brutal honesty. Admit that you are not immune. Recognize that every time you enter a trade, you're not just risking capital, you're triggering your survival system. That awareness alone creates a crack of distance, a moment to pause. That pause can save your career. You're not trying to be fearless. That's a myth. You're trying to be regulated, grounded, aware. You're trying to trade like a human who understands their inner animal and doesn't let it run the show. Coates doesn't coddle. He warns, if you don't master this, the market will. And the market is ruthless. Your goal isn't to dominate it. It's to stop being dominated by your own outdated survival code. This is where it all begins. Not with strategy, not with signals, but with biology. The next time your heart races at the open bell, ask yourself, is this trade dangerous or does my body just think it is? Because understanding that difference could be the key to your edge. You've felt it, those moments when you're on fire, stacking green day after green day, almost feeling invincible. Or the opposite, when you hesitate, second guess, and pull out of every setup that you know fits your system. What if I told you the culprit behind both those extremes isn't your trading plan, but your hormones? This isn't motivational fluff. It's chemistry. Literally. John Coates reveals that your appetite for risk, your confidence, even your ability to see the market clearly is largely determined by chemicals like testosterone and cortisol. You might believe you're in charge, but in truth, these hormones are the real traders behind the curtain. Let's talk testosterone. It's not just a male hormone. Both men and women produce it, and it plays a huge role in how aggressively you trade. Coates ran studies on actual traders and found that on days they made big profits, their testosterone levels rose. Sounds great, right? Higher testosterone meant higher confidence and more risk-taking. But here's the dark twist. That very confidence can spiral into recklessness. The more you win, the more testosterone you produce. The more testosterone, the more you're willing to bet big again. It's a feedback loop that feels like momentum, but it can easily turn into mania. This is how you go from consistent performance to oversized positions, from controlled entries to YOLO trades, all because your body is bathing in chemicals that scream, you can't lose. This biological reward system is rooted in evolution. In the wild, winning a fight or securing a mate elevated testosterone, which increased boldness, useful for survival. But in trading, that same system tricks you. You win a few trades, feel euphoric, and start believing you're bulletproof. And that's when your risk control fails, not from lack of skill, but from hormonal delusion. On the flip side, there's cortisol, the stress hormone. Cortisol spikes when you're under threat, like during drawdowns or volatile news events. And when it stays elevated for too long, it becomes toxic. Your focus narrows, your reactions slow. You begin to see risk where none exists. You become scared of setups you would have nailed before. Fear colors every chart. And here's the cruel part. Cortisol and testosterone work in opposition. High testosterone pushes you to take risk. High cortisol makes you pull back. Traders under long-term stress, think repeated losses, economic uncertainty, personal problems, don't just feel worse. They literally perform worse. Their chemical state sabotages their execution. Coates' research went deep. Blood tests, biometric readings, and behavioral tracking all proved the same point. The trader's body is not a neutral machine. It's a chemical theater where invisible actors determine your appetite for risk. And if you don't know how to manage that stage, you're just reacting to invisible cues. Think about it. How many times have you deviated from your plan after a big win? How often have you hesitated after a losing streak, even when your signal was valid? That's not weak psychology. That's biochemistry. And blaming yourself without understanding your body is like trying to fix a car without knowing how an engine works. You need to become your own performance lab. Track your states. After a winning day, write down your risk bias. After a loss, notice your hesitation. Don't just journal trades, journal the trader. That's where mastery starts. And here's the call to action. Stop trying to be a robot. You're not. You are a biochemical organism engaging in a high-stakes decision environment. Accept it, embrace it, study it. Because the traders who dominate long-term aren't the coldest. They're the most self-aware. Next time you feel euphoric after a win, ask, is this real edge or testosterone talking? Next time fear paralyzes you, is this a bad setup or am I drenched in cortisol? Learn the difference. That awareness is your armor. You win big. Your screen flashes green. Your account ticks up. You feel it, not just relief, but power. The market listened. You conquered it, and you're ready to do it again. But what if I told you that winning changes you, not just psychologically, but biologically? What if your body, flooded with reward chemicals, becomes addicted to the thrill? This is where most traders misunderstand success. They think winning is harmless, that it just feels good. But Coates flips the narrative. Winning physically alters your body. Every win doesn't just boost your mood, it reshapes your nervous system. And unless you're aware, it sets a trap. You see, each profitable trade doesn't just reinforce good behavior. It boosts testosterone, strengthens neural pathways associated with risk-taking, and activates your brain's reward centers. It tells your system, more of this now. The danger? You become biased toward the feeling, not the process. You start chasing highs instead of setups. Coates calls this phenomenon the winner effect. It's well documented in both animals and humans. In biology, animals that win fights become more likely to win the next one, not just because they're stronger, but because their physiology shifts. Testosterone rises, confidence spikes, they stand taller. Sound familiar? That's you after a green streak. But here's the twist. The winner effect has a dark side. That surge of confidence can quickly mutate into overconfidence. You stop following your rules. You increase size. You skip confirmations. You hold losers longer, believing you can turn them. All the while, you're not trading the market. You're trading your last win. You've seen this happen. Traders on hot streaks get sloppy. They start thinking in streaks, not probabilities, and inevitably they give back their gains, or worse, blow up. This isn't just a psychological flaw. It's a biological chain reaction. Your brain, now rewired to crave dominance, starts misinterpreting risk, and the fall becomes brutal. Coates goes deeper, explaining how dopamine, another key neurotransmitter, fuels the cycle. Dopamine doesn't just reward pleasure, it drives pursuit. It's the seeking chemical. Every time you anticipate another win, dopamine fires. You feel excited, but excitement isn't clarity, and it sure isn't control. Let me say it clearly. The market doesn't care how well you did yesterday. It punishes overconfidence with precision. That trade you size up on a whim, the one you justify with, "I've been on fire lately," that's biology talking, not edge. So what's the antidote? Awareness and structure. Coates doesn't suggest you avoid winning. He urges you to ritualize your response to it. After a big win, pause, journal, step back, run a checklist, reground yourself. Separate confidence from competence. Ask, was this trade skill or luck? Because without that, you'll keep riding your wins straight into self-destruction. Even more powerful, normalize wins. Don't treat them like rare trophies. Treat them like data points. Don't spike the football. Analyze the play. This mindset trains your brain to remain even, not euphoric. It tames the winner effect and builds long-term resilience. Markdouglas warned about this. He called it the euphoria trap, where confidence turns into blindness. Jared Tendler said the same. Performance psychology must anchor you to process, not outcome. Coates adds the science behind their wisdom. He shows how unchecked winning creates physiological conditions that feel great and lead to disaster. So next time you hit a home run trade, enjoy it. But watch yourself. Listen to your language. Are you saying, "I knew it, I'm unstoppable," or "let's double the next one"? That's not confidence. That's chemical intoxication. Because here's the truth. Real professionals win. Then they reset. They return to baseline. They start the next trade like the last never happened. That's not cold. That's mastery. That's how you build consistency in a game wired to exploit your biology. It's not just the wins that change you. Losses do too, but in a very different way. Picture this. You take a hit and suddenly your screens feel louder, your palms sweat, and every red candle looks like a death sentence. You're not being overly emotional. You're being flooded. Because stress doesn't just cloud your mind, it rewires your perception of the market. John Coates delivers a sobering truth. Prolonged stress physically changes your brain. Not metaphorically, literally. The hormone at the center of this is cortisol, the body's built-in stress signal. A little is necessary. It sharpens attention, prepares your muscles, helps you act fast. But when cortisol floods your system too often, it turns from helpful to harmful. It begins to damage memory, disrupt emotional regulation, and distort your view of reality. Have you ever watched a calm market and still felt on edge? Or hesitated to enter even the cleanest setup after a recent drawdown? That's cortisol speaking. Your perception of volatility becomes exaggerated. You see chaos where there is none. You expect danger even in structure. Stress turns every trade into a threat, and it gets worse. Stress doesn't just make you more cautious, it makes you more reactive. You jump out early, you chase late, you act without a plan because your brain, in survival mode, values speed over strategy. Coates explains that chronic stress weakens the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for judgment, planning, and impulse control. That means you're not just reacting faster, you're reacting dumber. This is how you end up abandoning edge, not because you forgot your system, but because you can't feel safe enough to execute it. There's a haunting parallel here with trauma psychology. Soldiers exposed to repeated combat don't just become tired. They start perceiving every noise as a potential attack. Their stress response becomes hyperactive, always scanning, always bracing. Traders under sustained losses do something similar. They stop seeing setups. They see traps. They don't plan entries. They scan for danger. Every chart becomes a battleground. And here's where Coates' background in both neuroscience and trading comes alive. He's not guessing. He references studies where prolonged stress shrank the hippocampus, the brain's memory center, while enlarging the amygdala, the fear center. This isn't just about bad moods. It's about structural shifts in your brain that turn a disciplined trader into a panicked speculator. Markdouglas warned us anything can happen. But he also said the best traders have an edge and think in probabilities. Chronic stress destroys that mindset. It pushes you toward binary thinking. This trade must work or I'll blow up. It hijacks your ability to accept randomness, which is the core strength of a probabilistic trader. So what do? First, track your stress just as diligently as you track your setups. Did you sleep well? Are you carrying outside stress, relationships, finances, health? Write that down. Know what's in your system before you start trading, because that stress isn't invisible. It's influencing every tick you see. Second, build recovery into your schedule. Not just breaks, but real decompression, movement, breath work, time outside, proper nutrition. Your brain is your edge, and if cortisol is flooding it daily, your strategy won't save you. Third, expect perception shifts. After a loss, don't trust your first instinct. Don't add size to win it back. Don't shrink your edge into oblivion. Pause, reset, journal, talk it out, normalize the stress before you internalize it. The trader's real battle is perception. You think you're analyzing price, but mostly you're interpreting your body's response to uncertainty. Chronic stress rewires that interpretation. It replaces opportunity with danger. Coates doesn't preach toughness. He preaches awareness. Because toughness without insight just leads to burnout. But awareness gives you choice, and choice is power. Your edge is not just what you see, it's how clearly you see it. Protect that clarity like your capital. Because without it, you're not trading, you're surviving. You've seen it before. Markets rally beyond reason. Charts go parabolic. Sentiment gets euphoric. Everyone suddenly becomes a genius. And then it crashes. It always crashes. What causes this madness? You've heard the psychology explanations, but John Coates takes you deeper, into the biology of bubbles. What if I told you that market bubbles are not just crowd psychology gone wild, but biochemical chain reactions fueled by hormones and evolutionary behavior? You think people are being greedy. In truth, they're being flooded with testosterone, dopamine, and the powerful delusion that they can't lose. Coates connects bull markets to risk-on physiology. During a prolonged rally, traders don't just see momentum, they feel it. Success after success raises testosterone levels across the desk. That surge enhances confidence, sharpens reaction times, and increases appetite for risk. At first, this is useful. You feel alert, decisive, tuned in, but the winner effect spreads. Not just in one trader, but desk-wide, market-wide. As portfolios go green, testosterone floods the system, and dopamine, the anticipation hormone, kicks in every morning with pre-market gaps and breakout setups. The trading floor transforms into a hunting ground, a race not to miss the next big move. You've heard of FOMO, but Coates explains it biologically, a market-wide reward loop where everyone is literally intoxicated by success. Rational risk models get shelved. People begin to believe the rules don't apply anymore. Does that sound like the dot-com boom? Or crypto 2021? Or meme stocks? Exactly. This collective physiological state leads to hypersynchronization. Traders, analysts, media all echo the same optimism, and biology loves feedback. The more you hear success, the more your brain seeks it. The more others chase, the more you feel you're missing out. Soon, discipline gives way to urgency. Doubt becomes weakness. Everyone piles in. This is the birth of the bubble, not in prices, but in perception. A mass hormonal surge that overrides skepticism, humility, and patience. And just like with individuals, the crash comes not from lack of information, but from biology's blind spots. Because here's the flip side. The higher the rise, the greater the crash. And after testosterone peaks, what follows? Cortisol. When markets turn and gains evaporate, your body doesn't just react with disappointment, it floods with stress chemicals. Confidence collapses. And the same traders who were euphoric yesterday now panic sell into bottoms. Coates points to historical cycles, 1929, 2000, 2008, and shows how each was driven by more than bad valuation models. It was biology in feedback loops. Financial manias weren't just irrational, they were hormonally explosive. And you, as a trader, can't stop bubbles, but you can stop getting swallowed by them. How? First, learn to recognize the signs, not just on the chart, but in yourself. Are you increasing size without logic? Are you feeling smarter than usual? Are your peers all talking like this will never end? That's a red flag, not of market weakness, but of systemic overconfidence. Second, diversify your feedback. If all you consume is hype, step back. Read contrarian voices. Check the data, not your emotions. Dopamine wants speed. Edge wants perspective. Third, build your own circuit breakers. Set rules in advance. Maximum size, drawdown limits, news filters. And most importantly, don't just audit trades. Audit states. Are you acting from confidence or from crowd contagion? Brett Steenbarger calls this the psychological bubble, when you lose touch with internal risk calibration. Coates gives you the biological underpinning. Together, they reveal the full picture. Market bubbles start in the bloodstream before they show up on CNBC. And if you want to survive them, or better, profit from their collapse, you need more than indicators. You need internal awareness. You need a mind immune to mania. Because the edge isn't in spotting the next trend. It's in knowing when your body, and everyone else's, is being hijacked by it. And then it flips. The rally turns. The charts bleed red. Traders who felt like gods just days ago now look like deer in headlights. Panic spreads, and suddenly, everyone's selling. Not because they've analyzed the fundamentals, but because their body screams, "Get out." This is the cortisol crash. And Coates explains it better than anyone. You need to understand this. When markets fall fast, your body falls with them. This isn't just emotional discomfort. It's biological overwhelm. Cortisol, the primary stress hormone, floods your system. Your amygdala, the brain's threat detector, lights up. Your prefrontal cortex, the logic center, goes dim. You're not trading anymore. You're surviving. Have you ever sold the bottom? Froze mid-trade? Avoided a great setup because something felt wrong? That's not a lack of discipline. That's a cortisol storm. And it doesn't just mess with your thoughts. It alters your memory, shrinks your attention span, and locks you into fear-based reactions. Coates likens these crashes to emotional epidemics. Fear spreads biologically. When traders panic sell around you, their tension becomes yours. Their tone, posture, and pacing activate your mirror neurons. You absorb their fear, even through a screen. Risk becomes contagious. And here's the cruel twist. Cortisol doesn't just make you afraid, it makes you rigid. You fixate on losses. You see every candle as confirmation of doom. You stop adjusting. You stop observing. You start bracing. That's not trading. That's trauma response. Coates brings in neuroscience to prove it. He shows how cortisol impairs your working memory, the very thing you rely on to juggle trade plans, levels, and scenarios. You literally can't think straight. That's why during crashes, even skilled traders revert to basic instincts. They shrink size, cut winners early and avoid re-entry, behaviors driven not by logic, but by biology. Remember what Markdouglas said, the best traders execute without hesitation, without reservation, and without fear. But how do you do that when your biology is screaming otherwise? You don't overpower it. You learn to work with it. First, recognize the onset. Are you feeling tight in your chest? Are your thoughts racing? Do you want to exit, not because the setup changed, but because you can't handle the tension? That's a red flag, not of the market, but of your internal state. Second, regulate in real time. Ground your breath. Slow your movements. Speak out loud. These aren't soft tactics. They're biological interrupters. They signal to your nervous system, "I'm safe, I'm in control," and that pause can prevent an emotional exit. Third, exit not because you panic, but because it aligns with your plan. The difference between a mechanical stop and an emotional stop is night and day. One protects you. The other reinforces fear. Tom Hugard warns about this. He says most traders lose not from bad analysis, but from emotional breakdown during volatility. Coates echoes that, adding the chemical blueprint behind the collapse. He's not making excuses, he's giving you tools. One of the most powerful ideas Coates offers is this: your trading desk is an emotional amplifier. It doesn't just reflect your state, it multiplies it. Which means, in a crash, your real job isn't to call the bottom, it's to manage your system's chemistry so you can think again. The good news? Crashes end. The cortisol storm passes. But what you do in those moments determines whether you'll be there to trade the recovery or whether you'll be burned out, emotionally exhausted, and afraid to pull the trigger next time. You can't eliminate panic, but you can prepare for it. You can plan for the moment your biology betrays you, because it will. And when it does, your greatest edge won't be in your strategy, it'll be in your state. Crashes are emotional crucibles, and the trader who can remain grounded when the world melts down, that's the one who not only survives, but thrives. Everyone talks about financial capital. How much are you risking? What's your drawdown limit? What's your max size? But no one talks about your real limiting factor, your emotional capital. John Coates makes one thing brutally clear. If you don't manage your emotional capital, your financial capital won't matter. Emotional capital is your ability to stay in the game, to keep thinking clearly, executing calmly, and adapting under pressure. And unlike your account balance, it doesn't reset easily. Once it's drained, you can't just wire in more. You have to recover. You have to rebuild. And if you don't, the market will bleed you out. Not with losses, but with hesitation, avoidance, and fear. Coates argues that resilience is a biological skill. That's right, some traders literally have more emotional stamina because their nervous systems are trained for stress. They've built the physical and neurological foundations to recover faster. It's not just mindset, it's muscle memory. You've felt the difference. Some days, a loss feels like a scratch. Other days, it feels like a wound. That's not about the size of the trade, it's about your reserves. When emotional capital is high, you're fluid, confident, agile. When it's low, you're rigid, reactive, and desperate. Brett Steenbarger calls this emotional bandwidth. And he's right, because without it, every minor event feels overwhelming. A 2-point pullback becomes a trend reversal. A stop out becomes a crisis. Your decision quality collapses. And the real damage isn't the losing trade, it's the trade you don't take next. So how do you build emotional capital? You start with recovery, not just resting, but training your system to bounce back. Coates emphasizes sleep, exercise, and nutrition, not as lifestyle advice, but as edge amplifiers. These habits regulate hormones, calm your nervous system, and keep cortisol at bay. Next is routine. Emotional resilience thrives in structure. When you start your day the same way, check your systems, run your process, you create psychological safety. Your brain knows what's coming. It doesn't need to burn energy guessing, and that preserved energy becomes resilience. Then comes reflection. Coates insists you must study your state as much as your charts. Were you sharp or dull, calm or tense, flexible or fixated? Track that. Over time, you'll see patterns. And just like technical edge, emotional edge comes from data-driven self-awareness. Most importantly, stop wasting emotional capital on things you can't control. The news cycle, the Fed, the next candle. Your job isn't to control outcomes, it's to execute with precision and adjust with agility. Every moment you spend worrying about the uncontrollable drains your reserves. Mike Bellafiore talks about being professional. That doesn't mean emotionless, it means efficient. You use your energy where it counts, you prepare, you execute, you recover. That's emotional capital in action. Coates takes it further, suggesting that elite traders regulate like athletes. They don't just train strategy, they train stress response, heart rate variability, breath control, focus drills. These aren't hacks, they're part of the job. Because emotional capital is the fuel behind every decision, and without it, no amount of edge will save you. So here's your action plan. Audit your emotional capital. Right now, are you sharp, grounded, or tired, distracted, and reactive? Don't lie. Be surgical. If you're low, don't trade. Rebuild. If you're strong, protect it. That's your real bankroll. Because at the end of the day, trading isn't just about who has the best strategy. It's about who can keep showing up day after day with clarity, composure, and courage. That's the edge no chart can give you. Have you ever just known a trade was right? No indicator, no news, just a feeling in your gut that screamed, "This is it." And it worked. But sometimes that same gut misleads you. So what gives? Is intuition magic or madness? John Coates dives into the science of instinct, and the truth is more powerful than you think. Coates explains that your intuition, your so-called gut feeling, isn't random. It's your brain processing massive amounts of information beneath the surface of your awareness. Traders with deep experience store patterns in their subconscious. Over time, those patterns emerge not as thoughts, but as feelings. That click you feel when you see the perfect setup, that's intuition. But here's the catch. Intuition is only accurate when trained. It's not some supernatural gift. It's the product of hours, days, years of immersion in market behavior. Without that, what you call intuition is just emotion, fear, greed, hope, masquerading as instinct. Coates connects this to the somatic marker hypothesis, a theory that says your body and emotions play a key role in decision-making. When a situation feels right or wrong, it's not just logic, it's a physical cue. Elevated heart rate, tight stomach, changes in breath. These aren't distractions, they're information. But only if you know how to read them. The problem? Most traders ignore their bodies, or worse, misinterpret them. They confuse anxiety with intuition. They treat overconfidence as clarity. That's how good setups get skipped and bad ones get chased. The body becomes noise instead of signal. The solution, Coates argues, is embodiment, developing the skill to feel, interpret, and trust your body's cues without letting them rule you. Think of it like this. Your body is your early warning radar. It picks up danger and opportunity before your mind can articulate it. But that radar only works if it's calibrated. You calibrate it by experience, by journaling not just your trades, but your feelings. What did your gut say before the trade? What physical sensations were present? Over time, patterns emerge. You learn the difference between genuine intuition and impulsive urges. Jared Tendler warns about this too. He calls it emotional mapping. You must differentiate between signal and static. Coates gives you the science behind it. Trained bodies react to risk more precisely. Novice traders get flooded. Pros get nudged. This explains why some elite traders can't always explain their edge. They just know, because their bodies are feeding them high-quality signals rooted in years of pattern recognition. Not guessing, sensing. But beware, when stress is high, intuition gets corrupted. Cortisol interferes with signal clarity. That's why Coates stresses emotional regulation. Your gut is sharp when you're grounded. It's dangerous when you're tilted. So how do you harness intuition without being ruled by it? Start by listening. Track your internal responses. Tight chest? Hesitation? Flow? Label it, record it. Then test it. Did it help? Did it hurt? Over time, you'll build a map, a personalized, intuitive framework that supports your strategy. Also, avoid binary thinking. Intuition isn't right or wrong. It's a tool, one input among many. Use it as a guide, not a guarantee. And when it aligns with your system, that's when you strike. Because here's the truth. The best trades don't always shout. Sometimes they whisper. And only the trader who's attuned to that whisper, through experience, awareness, and embodied intelligence, can hear it. You are not just a thinker. You are a sensor. And the trader who can feel accurately, not just think strategically, owns an edge most will never access. If your edge lives in the brain, then the gateway to that edge runs through your body. John Coates makes an argument that might shock traditional traders. Physical fitness isn't optional. It's foundational. Because when your body is strong, your mind is sharper. And when your mind is sharp, your execution becomes lethal. Think about it. Trading is a performance discipline, like athletics or surgery. Would you trust a fighter who never trains? A surgeon who doesn't sleep? Yet traders routinely sacrifice sleep, skip exercise, and live off caffeine, expecting peak performance. That's delusion. Coates dismantles it with science. He shows that physical exercise improves cognition. Cardiovascular health boosts blood flow to the brain. Resistance training improves hormonal balance. Even posture affects your neurochemistry. When you slump, you breathe shallowly, your cortisol spikes, and your confidence dips. When you stand tall, your testosterone increases, your mood lifts, and your focus sharpens. You're not just a mind on a screen. You are an embodied system. And every input, sleep, breath, posture, movement, affects your state. Want better focus? Walk more. Want stronger discipline? Regulate your breathing. Want to bounce back faster after a loss? Train your nervous system with intensity and recovery. Coates even argues that elite traders are more like elite soldiers than finance geeks. They train their nervous systems under pressure. They simulate chaos. They learn to perform under fire, not because it feels good, but because it builds capacity. Capacity to think clearly when it counts, to stay calm when the market panics. This aligns perfectly with what Jared Tendler preaches. Your mental game isn't fixed with affirmations. It's fixed by strengthening your ability to function under emotional load, and nothing builds that better than physical conditioning. Tom Hugard talks about thriving in pain, not avoiding it, but expanding your tolerance. That starts in the body. The body is where you train resilience. It's where you learn to breathe through stress, to move with control, to hold focus in discomfort. Practical application? Start your day with movement. Even 10 minutes of mobility or cardio can reset your chemistry. Use cold exposure to train your stress response. Use breath work to regulate your heart rate. These aren't hacks. They're training. Just like back-testing your system, you must back-train your body. And during the trading day, build rituals. Step away. Breathe between trades. Ground yourself physically before you click. Your nervous system is your edge, and it's either being trained or degraded every single session. Coates shares that some of the best traders he studied had pre-market physical routines. Not for abs, for clarity, for discipline, for presence. Because when your body is centered, your decisions are cleaner. And when your decisions are cleaner, your results compound. There's a brutal irony in trading. The more digital it becomes, the more physical mastery matters. Because screens don't forgive foggy minds, and algorithms don't wait for your emotions to settle. If your body is unstable, your trades will be too. So here's your challenge. Train like a professional. Move like your edge depends on it, because it does. Your strategy won't save you if your system is overwhelmed. Your setup won't matter if your brain is foggy. Your edge is only as strong as your body's ability to support it. Be the trader who treats fitness as part of the craft, not as extra, but as essential. Because your body isn't just a vehicle, it's a weapon. Sharpen it. You're not just a brain with a mouse. You are a full-body trader. This is John Coates' final truth. Trading is an embodied act. Every decision, every hesitation, every impulse is not just cognitive, it's physical. And if you ignore your body, you're ignoring the very system that executes your edge. Let's stop pretending that trading is all in your head. It's not. It's in your breath when you hold a position. It's in your posture when you scan a setup. It's in your gut when you hesitate before a click. You are not some disembodied mind navigating charts. You are a living, sensing, reacting organism trying to manage risk in real time. Coates calls for a new model, the embodied trader. One who understands that cognition is just the tip of the iceberg. Below it lies physiology, nervous system, hormone balance, sensory feedback. And if you want to consistently perform at elite levels, you need to align all of it. This model flips the old trader archetype on its head. No more glorifying sleeplessness. No more bragging about grinding through stress. No more dismissing emotions as weakness. The embodied trader respects the body, trains it, listens to it, uses it. Because here's the truth. Your body often knows before your mind does. That spike in heart rate, that tightening in your jaw, that slump in your shoulders. These aren't distractions. They're data. Data about your state, your readiness, your risk tolerance. And if you ignore them, you fly blind. The future of trading belongs to those who integrate, who don't just sharpen their strategies, but upgrade their systems, who combine technical mastery with physical intelligence, who track breadth as seriously as they track price. Think about your best trades. You weren't just thinking clearly. You were feeling centered. Your body was aligned. You were calm, grounded, precise. That wasn't luck. That was embodiment. And your worst trades? You were probably tense, rushed, disconnected. Maybe your hands shook. Maybe your gut churned. Maybe you knew it was wrong, but clicked anyway. That wasn't random. That was your system breaking down. This isn't abstract. It's actionable. Build physical rituals into your trading. Warm up like an athlete. Breathe between executions. Stand, stretch, ground yourself. Track your body cues. Learn what tension feels like. Learn what flow feels like. And log it. Make your body a dashboard. Are you moving well? Breathing deep? Focused and still? Or are you jittery, hunched, scattered? These metrics matter. They affect everything. This model isn't just for individuals. Coates even proposes it for institutions. Trading desks should be designed to support physiology, chairs that support posture, lighting that supports alertness, breaks that support nervous system resets. Because the traders aren't just minds, they're bodies under stress. Imagine a trading culture that respects that trains it, that sees the trader not as a brain in a jar, but as a full spectrum performer. That's the edge of the future, and it's already here. So what's the takeaway? You are your edge, not your charts, not your gear, you, your chemistry, your state, your awareness. Trade like an embodied professional. Train like one. Recover like one. Because the market doesn't care what you know. It responds to what you execute. And execution lives in the body. You've just seen what most traders never will. The truth that your edge is not only in your charts, but in your biology. John Coates shatters the illusion of the purely rational trader and replaces it with a more powerful archetype, the embodied one. You're not here just to analyze. You're here to sense, to regulate, to train, and to perform. From the rush of testosterone during a hot streak to the fog of cortisol in a drawdown, from the contagious energy of market bubbles to the emotional paralysis during crashes, Coates shows that the real game is internal. It's not about beating the market, it's about mastering your system physical, emotional, hormonal. He gives you tools sleep, breath, movement, self tracking. Not wellness fluff, but trading weapons. Combine these with structure, reflection, and real strategy, and you unlock something rare clarity under pressure. So, what now? Go back to part 3 if you're prone to overtrading after wins. Reread part 6 if panic robs your edge. Start applying part 9 today. Train your body to stabilize your mind. If this message hit home, hit like. Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more sharp insights that turn you into the kind of trader who doesn't just survive, but dominates.